To a demo of RESTpoint. Today we're going to show you how to get started with building an API prototype, and we're going to use an example of we've been asked to build an API for managing stocks in a portfolio. So once we log in to RESTpoint, we will click to start a new project, and we're going to call this My Portfolios. My Portfolios will skip a description right now, and we don't have any OpenAPI or a PostMat collection, so we're just going to go ahead and create a new project. And we're going to immediately jump into, let's start modeling some resources. So if I'm modeling stocks in a portfolio, then I think a resource I'm going to start with is portfolio. And we're going to say a portfolio has a list of stocks. And I'm going to say the portfolio has a name, and let's say we give it a description, and we'll give it a manager, someone who's managing the portfolio. And we're going to make the name be a required field, and we should probably make the manager a required field. So I'm going to go ahead and click this resource, and we can always come back and add and remove and change properties, but for now we'll start with this. And I'm going to create another resource, and we'll call this a stock. And we'll say a stock is a share in a company. So I'm going to use an example of a JSON resource to initialize this. So I could have used the form builder, or if I have the JSON, I can paste it in. And that's kind of handy if you started your modeling in JSON and paste it in, or if you're using a previous API response, you can just paste it in. So for now I'm going to call this stock, and let's say we give an example called Amazon, and I'm going to call it a ticker, which is AMZN. And for now, hopefully my typing was right. Let's click to add this, and you'll see we have the same end result. There's our resource ID ticker, and we're going to make each of these mandatory fields, required fields, and I will update. Okay, so right now we have two resources. Good place to start. Let's go check our API paths. So to get started, we have now a path for fetching all the portfolios and all the stocks. The only one we'll add for this first iteration is we want to be able to associate stocks in a portfolio. So let's add in OpenAPI convention portfolios, portfolio ID, and we'll say stocks. And that is going to return a collection of stocks. Your other option is single, but we're just going to return a collection. Okay, there we go. And we're going to, for now, we're going to allow all the actions. If we wanted to remove any, we would come in and turn them off here. And we're going to just keep default errors for now. We'll come back to it later, but for now we're going to keep this. And this is just a screen that shows them all. We can remember quickly where it is, and this is where they belong in the put post. Let's leave them all for now, and I can always go and take a look at what a little JSON example looks like. So we now have our paths, we have some resources. What's done underneath is we've already created a database to store example portfolios so that we can do CRUD, post, delete. You'll see that is managed all in the collection. So if I click on portfolios, you'll see there's my list, and I'm going to delete that example one that was given, and I'm going to call this and use my own ID, a simple ID of 1, and I'm going to call this John Doe is a manager, and I'm going to call this tech stocks, and my description is my favorite tech stocks. Whoops. And I'm going to add this in here, and we'll create one more. And this one, Gene will manage this one. Call this bank stocks. And we have a second portfolio. And let's go look at stocks. Same thing. We'll add a couple of stocks. We're going to delete the default that was created, and we're going to add one in here for Amazon. Let's add that in. And we'll add one here for Tesla. All right, so we got a couple of stocks, a couple of portfolios. Now let's add one stock to the portfolio. So I'm now going to add a portfolio stocks for portfolio 1, which was my tech stocks. So let's just add Tesla since it's here. We'll add Tesla into portfolio 1. So now we see there's portfolio 1 with the stocks. So we have an example in here, a couple of portfolios. So what's nice is the data is all set up for you. I don't have to go creating database tables and schemas and having to start worrying about that. So we have kind of getting close to our first iteration. GraphQL is something that was recently added, and that is to give users a little taste for what a GQL could look like. We have preliminary support right now that supports queries and mutations. So a quick query example would be, oops, I put in that portfolios, and I'm going to say return back the name. And we'll send. You'll see there's that. And if I wanted to say what stocks are in a portfolio, then I would say stocks. So we use our nested paths so we have a portfolio stock. I can put in stocks, and that's just treated as a property. So we click. Now we say, okay, great, there's our tech stocks, Tesla in there. So we can use some graph query mutations, start to get a feel for that. So you get both. So at this point, we're not going to get into more of the advanced features. We're going to really stick to the no code, just trying to model my resources, work on my properties, and get started. So if I go back to my paths, right now I can get a first look at what OpenAPI looks like. If I want to see what it looks like in Swagger UI, I can click, and there's my portfolios and my APIs, and see what it looks like, my objects at the end. And you'll see there's the required features. So right now we say let's make this our first iteration. I'm going to call this beta 1. Check out my API, and then we're going to deploy this into Google Cloud as its own standalone backend with its own database and its own API endpoints. So let's deploy this. And that is building everything, and now that's deployed. And when an API backend is deployed, a couple of default keys are created for you. If you want to give this out to users, full access means they can do full CRUD. Giving out this key would mean read only. And there's some other options. Passing out these URLs can generate the Postman collection. This is a nice spreadsheet output for all the calls. This is a nice one if you want to just send out a simple link to someone to go check out the API. You click, and it's got everything you have here. But let's jump into an API call. So you'll see there's our first path for portfolios. I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to start a new request using Postman. I'm going to go to my authorization. I'm going to pick API key, and I'm going to grab the full access key. And now I'm going to make a request, and you see there's our two portfolios, Jane Doe and John Doe. And I can do my stocks. And you'll see we have, let's expand this up a touch. You'll notice too that there's links automatically provided to give you a little view of what the links potentially would look like. There's your stocks here with Amazon. And if you recall, we had portfolios of 1/stocks. And you'll see there's Tesla we added in there. So I am free to go and start implementing API calls. This is a real API sitting out there. So I can come in JSON, and I can create a new stock. Let's go down to stocks. We're going to add another one here. Let's say, let's add one called Netflix, and that's going to be our ID of 3, our third stock we added. Now, if I just did a post, let's see what happens. We should get that we are missing some required properties because we put those as required. So let's add ticker. Amazon, and the name, whoops, that's Netflix, we're saying NFLX, and name is Netflix. So now we should be able to add the stock to our list of stocks, and there we go. And if I was to now do a get for all my stocks, you'll see this is an API, complete API. You can do all CRUD and start getting your first feel for how this works. If we come back here, you'll see here's the other keys we can try with. If we want to pass it links of just the OpenAPI, for example, you could pass this to someone and say, here's the link, give it a try. If I bring up that, let's grab our full access key, and I'm going to click authorize, close, and then I can come in and say get portfolios, try it out, execute, and you'll see there's all my portfolios. So what we will do in this demo is, this is sort of the first iteration to give you an idea how quick you can get a real API backend up, add paths very quickly, resources, edit them. And what we'll show in subsequent demos is how we can change the error responses, we can add business logic, webhooks, but the idea of this one was to just show how quick you can get an API up and start iterating. Thank you.